Hi, everybody. Before we get to another great interview, the Two Opinionated podcast could really use your help. And it's easy, it's free. IMDb, which is the entertainment database, imdb.com, named us a top 100 podcast. We came in at number 82. That's a big deal because there's 15 million podcasts and growing. So to be named to anybody's top 100 list, pretty big deal for us. And the way you can help is to go to imdb.com, look up the Two Opinionated podcast, and that's it. Just bringing our page up. That traffic really helps us out. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. All we ask is that you subscribe. It's also free, but that really helps us to attract these amazing guests that we keep bringing on the program. And that's it. Two easy ways for you to support us, and we would really appreciate the help. Now let's get to that interview. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Two Opinionated. I'm so excited today. I get to welcome back one of my favorite guests, actress, director, Nicole Oliver. So welcome, Nicole.
Hi, thanks for having me back. It's great to see you.
I always worry if I go on too long. I'm just liable to wander off into a completely different subject.
It's all right.
It's like, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, podcast.
Oh yeah, podcast. That's where I am. Yeah.
It's not very often that I get to welcome, Detective Kelly Blaine to the program.
Oh, thank you. Yes, right. It's crazy, that show. There's been all sorts of presence about it on the internet again. I guess it's coming up. Oh gosh, it's
Is
over
it 30 years, maybe?
Yeah, over
Okay.
30 years. We're talking about Kung Fu, the legend continues.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but
If they don't know just by my little Easter egg.
There's been all sorts of people interested in it again, so it's kind of cool.
Well, that's why I brought it up, because I've been seeing it everywhere. And It just seems kind of weird because it just all of a sudden I was like, okay, everybody's fighting again.
Yeah, I see what you did. Yeah, I think there's a real hankering for nostalgia. I think there's a bunch of us of a certain generation that are kind of craving maybe simpler times. Our remembrances, maybe they weren't really simpler times, but for us they were. And so any of those kind of touchstones from those periods of our life, I think people are looking for that.
You think that's why we remake everything? We're just chasing those feelings we had from back when we were younger.
Well, yes, that's my nice answer. I think also we're just lazy, but yeah, I think there's a combination of both. And also, I wonder how much creativity drives things anymore, right? The dollar sign is a bottom line. So if you've had a proven winner and you have a built-in audience, the maths. And so
Yeah, well, that's right. It makes sense. I do like that, since probably before then, but noticeably since we had the lockdown, 2020 happened, we're getting back to like more storyline, character development, like the special effects stuff. We're not seeing quite as much.
Well, yeah, I guess you can actually film a movie with people all together in one place, right? Without having to be separated.
Yeah, that helps. Of course, you've got AI coming, so that could change the equation.
Yeah, we've always had AI in our industry to some degree, whether it's as an assist, right?
That's true.
The issue now, I think, is that it's replacing, and to me, I can see it and I don't like it. But I think that kind of goes back to the first comment about laziness, right? The viewer, do they want to be challenged? Do they want to be into the story? Does it really matter? Or is it just noise in the background to, mute out and
well, that's it.
The day. So what is it, right?
To me, if you're going to remake something that should have been good but wasn't.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I kind of also liked when you remake something with a twist. Like I did like when they did Ghostbusters with a female cast. I thought that was fantastic.
I enjoyed that movie too.
If you
can make it something a little, so it's familiar but unfamiliar. I'm okay with that.
Do you remember, or have you ever heard of a show? It's when I was a kid. It was called The Greatest American Hero.
Love the Greatest American Hero, of course.
Believe it or not,
Yeah, of
I'm
course.
walking, right? I mean, that could be a cool remake. I mean, it ticks the superhero box, but
They
against the
tried.
original, but it was
They
cheesy. Oh, did they?
they tried. They did a pilot, and
Hmm.
it had one of the actresses from New Girl was
Oh,
was going to be the I guess the hero.
oh, was it Zoe Deschanel? Was she gonna?
No, it wasn't Zoe. It was the other one.
Oh, the other one. Okay, yeah.
I
I
can't
can't
think.
remember.
I'm
I can't
drawing
remember
blank on
now.
her name, but the roommate. You're
Right,
the model friend of hers.
right.
That was. But yeah, but I guess it never got out of the pilot stage.
Well, that's why you and I don't aren't in charge of creating all the shows. I guess. There you go.
But if you took like the one I always think of is and this is dating myself, but Bonfire of the Vanities. When I was
Yeah,
growing up, it had
yeah,
such a great cast. It was supposed to be this really good movie, and it just didn't work for whatever reason.
yeah, yeah.
Remake something like that. Try it again.
Yeah, well, yeah, let's start with a better script, but
Well,
yes.
yeah, I'm sure there's tons of better examples than that, but
Yeah, but
yeah,
like I
there's
get
just
what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah. Instead of why remake something that already worked?
Well, don't you think like was it Doctor Odyssey is like the Love Boat, right? I mean, I mean, there's proven formulas and things that'll work, and you're going to stick to it. Is there
Yeah.
anything new you're watching that you love that's different? I'm going to
Um.
interview you. See, I'm interviewing you. Is
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
anything you
I'm
want to share?
happy to share. So my two favorites right now are Resident Alien
Okay. Yeah.
and From. I don't know if you know that
Oh,
one.
from who's in it? Where
So,
is it on?
so From is kind of like it's like a horror Lost. It's on MGM Amazon. Oh, it's so good.
Who's in it?
It's got Harold from Lost. Harold,
Oh, Cousineau? Is
yes,
that his name?
yeah,
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 yeah, yeah.
yeah. He's the star in it, and he's terrific in it. He's
Okay,
so good.
I'm gonna check it out. I
Yeah, check
loved
that out.
Lost. I loved Lost.
If you
Even
loved
when
Lost, you'll love this one. It's just a little more violent. Not a
I just
ton, but a
I
little
just
bit.
finished Shrinking,
Oh, I
which I
love drinking.
loved, loved.
Like I'm a Harrison fan, always have been.
Oh yeah,
But
well me too.
I
He's
mean, and
really
he's terrific. He's terrific.
yeah.
But the whole cast is terrific in that show.
To each one. Like they're amazing.
Yeah.
And the other show that I just started watching, I've been watching from the beginning because I love the books, is Reacher.
Oh, I'm watching Reacher. I just
You
started
know?
the new season today. I'm behind.
Yeah.
I'm on season 2
I
now.
I have some issues, but I love him, so I'll watch him in anything. But
It,
I have
it
some
worried
issues.
me because at the beginning of the episode, he
Oh
makes
yeah.
a mistake and shoots a police officer, and
Okay,
I'm
that's
thinking,
spoiler alert. Spoiler
I know,
alert for anyone who
spoiler. I
hasn't seen it.
apologize, spoiler,
Yeah.
but I'm thinking Reacher would make that mistake. But
That
then
as soon
it
as that
explains
happened,
it
I was
later.
like, it's a setup.
Yeah. It
But,
explains it.
again, spoiler alert. But yeah, I finished. My husband and I are watching it, and so we watched the second episode last night. And okay, yeah, it's getting there. But I mean, he's great. He's magnetic. He's incredible to watch.
I know
And
I liked him when he was on Titans. He was.
yeah, and I hear he's also a great guy, like a
I
great
heard
guy.
that too. Yeah.
So I love that when people who have success are actually decent people too, because
Well,
that's not.
you wouldn't expect someone that is that big. I mean, he's a big guy to be that good of an actor, but he's pretty good. Like he's believable in that role.
If you want to go down the rabbit hole, type in Alan. I always say his last name wrong. Is it Richardson? How do I say his last name?
Richmond, I think.
Yeah.
Richmond.
Anyway,
Rickman.
no,
No,
there's a stage in there. But type in his name and American Idol audition. I
really.
think he auditioned for like one of the first seasons. I believe it was American Idol, like one of those talent shows.
All right, I'm gonna find it.
Yeah. So there you go. That's my rabbit hole internet gift to you for the
That's
day.
kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone has to start somewhere. We all start
All right.
somewhere. Yeah.
So my granddaughter's gotten into Molly of Denali.
Oh, great.
Yeah. She watches the on PBS here.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
so that one was a new one to me. I knew you had been in it, but I hadn't seen that one yet.
well,
But
I've actually voice directed it from the beginning.
yeah. Oh,
Um,
you're right. Well,
yeah,
it's a
and
terrific show.
yeah, I'm really proud of it. We won a Peabody,
Yeah.
and we've been nominated for a bunch of well, Emmys. I think they're called children's Emmys now. But yeah, it's an incredible show. My cast is from all over North America, from Alaska, all over Canada, all over the USA. So it's a real international cast of incredible Indigenous performers. The writing room has Indigenous writers in it,
That's
our
awesome.
consultants. We're bringing back language. But if you step even outside of, I mean, it is an Indigenous story, but it's also a story about a really smart, empathetic, compassionate young woman, right?
Yeah.
And she's heart-based, but she's brain-based, science and all that kind of stuff, curious about climate and everything. And
Curious
how,
is a good word because that's
yeah,
part of the reason I think my granddaughter likes her because she's very
but it's
curious about everything.
but it's not pushy, or it's not, and I find that energy and the tone of it is really welcoming.
Yeah.
It's not like something as a parent you might listen to and go, it's
Right.
degrading. It's like, oh, you actually find families sitting down and watching it together. So
Well,
yeah,
yeah, because it's the story's good enough. You can get some enjoyment out of it as an adult.
yeah, yeah, and learn something too. It's great. PBS is wonderful. I just actually finished directing a new project for them. I believe it's coming out in May, and I can't say anything more than that till I talk to all the lawyers. You know how
Yeah.
that goes. But on that project, I also was the music director. So there's lots of music in it, and
Well, that's
it's
very
cool.
nice. Well,
Yeah,
I knew you. I knew you danced at one time in your life,
yeah, danced
but
and
I don't
sang.
remember the musical part. Did you sing
Yeah,
growing up?
yeah. So I went to theater school, and you kind of had to try and be a
I
triple
guess that's
threat.
true. Yeah.
I sang in rock bands in Toronto, like local bands in the late '80s
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
bar club scene, and then after graduating, I did pantomimes. I did like Cinderella. I played Cinderella.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I was auditioning for music. I auditioned for, as everybody did at the time, a little musical called Les Mis.
Oh.
Um, and that was around the same time I was auditioning for um, Kung Fu, The Legend
Oh.
Continues.
Okay.
And so and I was doing pantomime, and these auditions were coming up, and things were starting to happen for me a little bit. And it was really like I had an opportunity to do television, so I did the television program, which meant I really couldn't pursue further auditioning,
Right.
like for Les
You had to
Mis.
make
And
a
the way they
choice.
did that, like I had to make a choice, and then also was like, okay, I mean, the financial component of it
Yeah.
didn't hurt either. Um, but so I've always just been in that area, and music has always been a part of my life. My husband's a composer, right? My kids,
Yeah.
my
I
oldest
remember that.
son is a drummer and plays in bands sometimes, and so it's always been a part of my life. So it was really nice to be able to bring that back
Yeah.
into my work. Yeah. So we'll see where it goes. I think at some point before I leave this mortal coil, I would really love to do a musical, you know, like a nice supporting
Like,
character
are you
part.
talking like being in the musical, not
Yeah.
directing, but being in?
Yeah.
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 You could do that.
Yeah. I think I could too. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's bucket list.
Is it more difficult to direct a show or a movie or something, more voice work?
It's all different. I mean, certainly if you're directing, like I've directed reality television, that the
Yeah.
hours are way longer than directing anything to do in the film and television
Right.
arena. You're just talking epic hours, right? The notion that you're part of a team and in the team from beginning to end is the same regardless of the medium, but certainly the time requirement, the time crunch requirement is different from voice to
Yeah.
on camera. And I think really that's I've always done voice. It's not like I chose one or the other. I think as an actor, you need to be able to do it all because it's not
Right.
all going to be happening at the same time. I mean, that's really the worst thing that happens is I'm directing and I'm acting and I'm voice acting and I'm teaching and I'm like, like, oh,
Yeah,
boo-hoo,
it's a
that's
lot.
terrible. That's the worst that can happen. I always say I told you before, I see my career like a big pot of pasta. I put it on every day and I take it off and I chuck it at the wall and see what sticks. And I'm not afraid that nothing is going to stick. I'm more like fearful that everything's going to stick.
Right.
Then buckle up, baby. Here we go. You know. But yeah. So there is definitely, I have friends who are directing and running, television series, and they work hard. I mean, they're in it, and that's what takes their attention. Like the film and TV industry is a real jealous partner. It doesn't allow for anything else, really. When you're at that level, doing that.
Right. Yeah, it kind of takes all your time and focus.
It's everything. Yeah, it's everything.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. I would think that if you're physically there with someone, that might be easier in some ways. But then if you're directing somebody on voice, sometimes you're probably with them too. You're just not necessarily recording the
so directing voice, directing. So I think that when COVID hit, the voice part of the industry, the recording part of the industry, pivoted a wee bit easier because sometimes we are just doing one performer at a time because of schedules or whatever, right? Whereas when you're doing a film or TV show, it doesn't work that way. Everyone has to be together. So it was much more complicated from a logistic perspective about how to get everybody together, to get what you need done, right? So now we still have the holdover of that period, in that as a director, I used to direct like this for most of COVID, right? Which is really hard. And one actor at a time, and had to have to make sure that it would all, when it was put together, would sound like it was the same show done at the same time. It's like recording a song one instrument at a time and hoping it's all going to line up, for the whole orchestral sound or something. So that was, that's really challenging, but I prefer the face-to-face because it's not just your voice, right? It's everything. And
well, that's it. Yeah. I would think that's how not that I could do it, but if I did, I'd rather do it in person.
Oh, and you get so much. And working off of other people and their body languages, in terms of also in addition to their vocal language, you just learn so much, and you see people, and it actually feels like you're doing something. You're part of something. And I think that's a real human need, right? Community.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And then as an artist, especially, and then if you're having to do that in isolation, that's not fun. So, yeah.
No, and I think I'm guessing that as someone that kind of is used to being in the spotlight, working by yourself, maybe not as fulfilling.
Well, it's not fulfilling because I get better with other people.
Yeah. Right? Well, I think most of us do.
Other people will push you in different directions, or when you're just on your own, sometimes you'll just fall back on your comfort, right? Because it'll work, or no one's there to challenge you or make, challenge your predetermined notions of how something should go. Like even as a director, I have, my script all marked up. I've taken all my meetings. I know how the producers and everybody really want the sound of the show and what they're going for and what the scene is. But what's so magical sometimes is when the actors come in and they're super prepared, and it's not like you're trying to pull it up from the basement. Like they do something and you're like, oh my gosh, yes, let's go from there. And you're in this land that it's amazing. And as an audience member, that's when we're like, whoa, what is this show? That's that thing. That's that thing we can't talk, we don't know how to define, but there's just something special about shows. And usually when you start investigating, you realize there's a real synergy between all the parts of it, right? And there's a real openness and a willingness for collaboration, and all of those kind of similar things usually turn into creating this incredible product that nobody really could have predicted, right?
Yeah, I kind of love that.
Yeah,
that's a very good explanation of what it's like being on a show. Because you get kind of close.
Yeah, well, you do. They're like they're your family in some ways, probably closer than most of your family. They see you. There's no hiding.
Right.
You've gotta, when you're on a film set, you're there, you gotta get your day. If you don't get your day, it's literally dollars and cents, and you gotta push it to another day, but that's not always easy because maybe you don't have the location the next day, or your cast is going off to something else, so you didn't have them exclusively, so you only have them for here and there. Like there's so many moving parts. In all productions, but especially in live action productions, right? But everyone will see you in all the moments when you're frustrated and everything. As a viewer, we just see the curated moments. And I think that's why for a lot of people, when they meet their heroes, they're crushed because we forget they're people, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you want to treat them like their character. That's not who they are.
or you remember them from a movie they did 30 years ago. And then when you meet them, you're like, oh my gosh, you're so
like, yeah, what happened to you?
You know, what happened to you? It's like time, my friend.
That's right.
Time happened to me.
You know, I don't think when you were on last time, I don't think we talked about this. One show that I loved to watch in the 90s was Forever Night. And
oh, yeah.
You did an episode of that.
I did.
Yeah, and you had like, if you were going to do like a Victorian vampire show in modern times where he's a police detective, then playing a character named Karen Constantine, that name fit that show so well.
Right? Very, 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 very. Yeah,
Grant Wynne very Davies, Victorian.
Very Victorian. Yeah, Grant Wynne Davies was the star of that show. The whole cast and crew were outstanding.
Was it filmed in Vancouver?
It was filmed in Toronto.
Oh, in Toronto. Yeah, because I noticed there's a lot of Canadian actors that I've talked with over the years have been on there at one time. So I was like, well, it's got to be one of the big cities.
Yeah, it was a really big show. It was at the beginning of the boom, I think, of television in Canada.
Well, we got it as it was syndication when we got it.
Yeah, but it was it was a lot of fun, and for me, that was also a step up, like in terms of a bigger part. And then from that came other things. I think I went on to FX, the series.
And, that was a pretty good. Well, the movie was so good. And I think there was 2 of those. And then the show was just as twisty.
Yeah, it was great. And then from that, I went on to a 6-pack show for Fox and other stuff. And, you know, those kind of programs were like my training ground. I mean, I trained for years in theater school and overseas, but there's nothing like being on a set. That's the last piece, you know, as a performer. Yeah. Like, how does it actually work? What's the order of doing things? How can you still meet all the technical requirements, but not lose the creativity and the acting and all that, you know? And the only way to really do it is do it.
Yeah, because you're not going to know
until
you actually get out there and try it.
Yeah, exactly. How did you know how to hit a mark? How do you, like, you know, every time you walk, you got to hit that spot. If you go too far, you're out of focus, or you're out of frame, or, you know, but meanwhile, you're like so angry, you know, emotionally, but you still have to remember, I can only walk 3 steps and then I have to turn. Otherwise it doesn't match. And so it's like so many.
Well, and I'd always heard if you're used to theater, you know, like a TV show, much quieter, you know, so you got to kind of lower the volume down where you project. And
well, you know what? I think that'll just happen naturally. I mean, it's not that you're yelling. You do have to hit the back wall, but there's mics that are used all the time.
Right.
So you don't have to project as much as you maybe used to back in like the 80s or 90s. But it is it's more contained, certainly in the environment. And then the lenses and everything might dictate really how much, like sometimes if you move too fast, it's going to be like, there's my puppy. One second, I think that's my puppy Zoe, who's just over 1 year, and she's protecting the household. Well, but I was going to say, if you move too fast on camera, it can look like you're a vampire, depending on the lens size, right? So it's technical things like that you have to learn and temper and modify. But if you're not you got to be centered, right? If you're not centered and you're not in it, nobody's going to believe you, regardless of whether you're in front of a camera or on a stage in front of 1,000 people.
But I guess that's true. Yeah.
You know,
if you're not in it,
it's acting. It's acting. It's being.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's true. If you're thinking about acting, you're probably not acting as well as you could.
That's kind of
have to
applicable to
be.
everything. Isn't that applicable to everything? Right?
Yeah.
You know,
It
if you're
really
thinking
is.
about it, you're not doing it. So it's
Yeah.
probably not going to turn out how you want.
I was late getting started on Tracker, but you showed up on there.
Oh yeah, it was such a great show. That was hard. That part, like that's, talk about, acting in frames. They weren't sure how much emotion they wanted my character to show. And so we did
Oh,
that
yeah.
scene sometimes where it was just full on crying, and other times where it was just barely on the edge, and the camera was so tight and in silhouette and everything. And also the star was right here. And so if I lean too far that way or too far forward I'm going to block him when the camera's on this side. So it's like, okay, I have to be in it, but I can't move. Like we're talking an eighth of an inch, and I've blocked him and his reaction because we're so tight.
Right.
So it's just learning also how to take in all that kind of technical stuff, but not let it affect what you need to do as a performer. Some actors
Does
don't.
that help you? Like, does the directing side of you help the acting side?
I think so for me. I mean, some actors don't want to know what the shot is, they just want to
Yeah.
do it. But for me, if especially as an actor, if it's something incredibly emotional, like really, I don't want to do that 50 times.
Right.
So if we're talking about, like, if you need me to be still to get the shot, then you tell me. Don't let me give what I think is an incredible performance and I hear we loved it, but you were this or that, it was soft on focus or something. No, let's figure this out where
Right.
we can all do what we need to do, because my acting is as important as your lens, as important as your lighting, is as important as your shot. And that gets missed sometimes on camera, but I think because I've been on both sides, I certainly am more confident to ask for what I need and to also know
Right.
what I can't.
Well, that
Yeah.
was good. That was kind of my next question. As a director, do you like having actors that also direct on your set? Is that helpful, or is it, sometimes too many voices, if that makes sense?
Well, it's like, so for animation, I have directed a couple of animation directors as actors, and they're great. I mean, same, and I still act
Right.
like in cartoons too. And so I think it's really important to just do my job I've been hired for. So if a director's asking me to do something, it's my job to deliver at least once what they're asking for, right? I
Right.
can then say, I hear where you're coming from. I'm thinking this. What do you think? And I think having directed more, I'm much more courageous in being collaborative,
Right.
right? So as
Yeah.
opposed to being oppositional, collaborative. And then, when you understand the bigger picture, you know how you can maybe fit it in a little bit more, or find a way to challenge yourself, or and have the director work with you or the actor work with you. So I like collaboration a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I would too, because you'd have, if you wanted another opinion, you'd have some there.
Oh, everyone has opinion. No one's short of an opinion. You just hope you're working in an environment that if you shared your opinion, you won't get fired, because there are there's those environments too.
Right.
And that sometimes you just need to know, what's my job? Do your job. Zip it. Like, not now, right?
Yeah.
Like, you need to be able to read the room in our business, but in life in general, right? Like, read the room.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that
That'll
is
pick your
true.
moments.
Just in life, you need to know
Yeah,
that. And
yeah.
unfortunately, a lot of us have forgotten how to do that.
Well, yeah, especially with, I think, with social media and anonymity that can be attached to it,
Yeah.
there's no consequences, right? So,
Yeah. And you can tell.
can you ever
Rough
tell?
out there.
It's just dumb.
My grandson stayed with me the other night, and he's watching. He's into superheroes now, but he's watching the Lego superhero stuff. So I got to see
Yeah,
some of those Avengers ones that you voiced
yeah,
Black Widow.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Which I had seen them before when my son was younger, and he kind of watched some of that. But it's kind of neat watching it with the grandkids.
yeah.
I love those movies because they put in so many Easter eggs.
Yeah, they do. They're fun.
Yeah.
Those writers, the Lego writers, are so clever.
Oh
Like,
my goodness.
I've been on a bunch of Lego shows. I'm very grateful for that. I directed Lego Friends for
Yep.
the franchise, and even the writer, like Samantha Silver, they're really clever. They're fun, and if they can do little Easter eggs, they will.
Yeah,
And I
they
think
they
that would
throw them
also
in
make it
there.
fun for all ages, right? There's
I
that kind
was
of stuff.
watching one and they had a poster in the background and it
Uh-huh.
was of the Thing,
Uh-huh.
from Marvel, the Thing. And he's just pointing at it and it says M period, M period, M period wants you.
Yeah.
And I liked it because it's from this, it stands for Mighty Marvel Magazine wants you. And that was something that they used to advertise in comic books back in the 70s. And I was like,
Oh,
that's pretty cool that
that's
somebody
fun.
knew to put that in the background. Because most people, like my son, he had no clue what that was.
Oh, so many of these. That was the other thing that was kind of fun during COVID is you'd actually get to see into people's home offices,
Yeah.
right? Because you're sometimes like some of these creators, their offices were like full of memorabilia from
Yeah.
all genres of stuff. And it was like, okay, now I really understand where you're coming from with stuff like that. You know,
Yeah.
you get these little,
I know it
little,
was kind of a cool glimpse
yeah,
behind the scenes with a lot of people that you didn't
yeah,
normally see in that environment.
yeah. And now we're all dreadfully aware of our background, right?
Yeah.
So we try and make it as lovely as we can.
You just do the best you can.
Find your good light, figure it out. Yeah, yeah.
You worked with, speaking of Tracker, you did an episode of Supernatural, didn't you?
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. You'd worked with him before.
It was great. He was no, he wasn't in. He was Justin wasn't in my Supernatural, but yeah, I worked with the lead guys, and my son had been kidnapped, and I was like I think I was like a witch. I could do spells like
Oh, right, right,
protection and
right, right.
magic
You're right.
spells,
I remember that
and
episode.
I had
Yep.
to learn a whole bunch of Latin, which wasn't too tough because I actually took Latin in high school. I took Latin up to
Oh,
grade
you really
12.
did?
Yeah, I did.
Because there's not a lot of practical uses for Latin anymore.
Well, no, but it's cool.
It
But
is
the kid
cool.
back then, I'm like, hey, I actually know some of this what I'm saying, and I could kind of remember why the order of certain words. But learning all that, I was just like, oh my gosh, here we go.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot.
I mean,
But I
I think a lot of us nerdy people, we're interested a little bit in Latin, but actually learning it, that's a different level.
well, it's just really cool because I'm a bit of a nerd that way. I like to know where words come from, right? So the
Yeah.
learning the roots of some of those words and seeing how it kind of plays out in modern language, and I like that. I like that kind of stuff. So
Well,
yeah,
yeah, I think that's kind of neat, and I was always interested in like Roman legions and that type of thing when I was growing up. So it would Latin interested me because of that.
yeah. It's like when I remember watching like the 300 and
Yep.
all those kind of movies, right? I'm like, I know what they're saying. That's kind of fun. We're like, yeah, inside knowledge. I have the knowledge. I
Yeah,
know.
close as I could. I learned to tell time on a Roman numeral clock. That just happened
Yeah,
to be the one we had. That's
yeah.
about as close as I can come.
All those letters. Well, if you're a football fan, you should know some, at least when it comes to Super
Well,
Bowl.
yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, yeah, you should know a little bit
A little bit, yeah. Is it
if you've watched for
368?
a
What is it?
while.
Yeah.
What are you currently working on?
That I can talk about?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, Not much I can talk about, but I've just been brought back to do some voices in some video games, so that's kind of fun.
Well, it is. It is.
Uh,
Can you tell us what games?
no, I'm not allowed to. I've signed all the papers on my life away. But it's cool. It's fun. I've got that project coming out I just told you about directing, so I just finished doing
I
what
don't
call
think they don't do a Barbie project without calling you, at least in the animated field.
yeah, yeah, I've done a bunch of those and they're lovely. And yeah, so this project that's coming out in May, I just finished doing the digital component. So a lot of at least animated programs now also have an online component.
Yes.
like a learning component. So this
Yeah.
project is also for PBS, so I can say that much. Um, and it took up a lot of my time last year, and it was amazing.
Do you
I
have to when you're acting or directing in that, are you involved with the online part as well? Are you also
Yeah, so
doing
I
that?
I brought in to direct some of the little online games that you can see,
Yeah,
like Molly has a bunch of those. So I just did another one of those that'll be coming out soon. I know I can tell you about that.
that's pretty cool. Those that type of thing we didn't have when we were younger. Uh, but now you almost need that learning component because everything that kids are doing is online or on a tablet or on a screen, and they need, you got to teach them something.
I teach them something. And then I have a project coming out, hasn't been announced yet. Nothing has been that I can talk about, but I have some on-camera work coming out, which is I'm really excited about. I had a really great guest star arc on a show. I have some new directing projects coming out, and I'm back voicing on a television show that I can't talk about yet because they haven't announced.
You've been
Um,
busy.
so yes, I have been. A lot of my pasta pot has been sticking to the wall these days. So,
Too much
um,
pasta on the wall.
I'm grateful for that. And on top of that, I got a puppy last year because both my kids are out of the house and living their life, and I became that woman that needed a puppy, so I got a
Yeah.
puppy.
It was too quiet at home. I know it's quiet. When the kids first leave, you're just like, what is this?
Yeah. So that's occupying our time, and we love it. And
It sounds like you're really busy.
yeah, traveling a bit, living life a bit, a
Yeah,
lot.
that's not terrible. It's nice to be able to travel again.
Yeah, it's great. So we've been doing a lot of that, getting my steps in every day, lifting my
Well,
weights, stay strong,
I appreciate
doing
you
my
taking a little time and
meditation.
catching up with us. This has been great. I think you're so talented with your acting.
Thank
And
you.
I'm not even sure that's your strongest point. You're such a good director. That's rare, I think, to have two abilities where you can go either direction, you're going to be fine.
Thank you. I'm going to record you saying that and I'll play it back every day because tell you some days you're like, I don't know.
I
But
know.
no, thank you. Yeah. But that's something I really try and tell my kids and friends and everybody, you got to diversify. Don't limit yourself. Find your umbrella you like to be under, but don't be afraid to challenge yourself to find different ways to open up your creativity and your possibility because there is more than you think available to you.
Yeah. Yeah. You just have to sometimes kind of find it on your own. You have to, it's there, but you got to go look for it a little bit. Nicole, where can we find you on social media?
Social media, the
I
swamp that is social media.
know
Probably Instagram, official Nicole Oliver is the best bet. I am on Threads, Nicole Oliver. It just feels like another full-time job, and
it is
it's pretty
you
dark.
need a person
And
to
it's
handle
pretty
that
dark
part.
there right now, but Instagram is my best bet, and you can always check out my website, www.nicoleoliver.com, and you can see what's happening in my
Yeah, you've got a
world.
good
My life.
website. Or is that you keeping that up?
Oh, heck no. I hire people for that
Yeah,
one.
that's why it's really well done. That's why I was asking. I was like, that's pretty good.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, Nicole, hold on one second. Our good friend Nicole Oliver, um, love having her on. She is so talented and has been doing this. I mean, she was working on shows back when I was in college. So she's been doing this for a while, and she's so good at it. She plays the mayor on Bob the Builder. She has, I'm sure you have heard her as the voice of Black Widow and Betty Ross in a lot of the Marvel cartoons. She's done that a ton. Um, she plays a couple roles on The Dragon Prince. She was a judge on Arrow. Probably should have brought that one up. I think I was getting my Arrow and my Supernaturals mixed up there. So that's some Parkinson's nonsense right there. Sometimes I reach for it in my brain, and where it used to be right there, it hides from me. So it takes a little bit sometimes. And then, I didn't mention Nancy Drew, but she played Rebecca on there and was just terrific. She was on there for a bunch of episodes. Really, really good. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you'd like to know more about Nicole, and she's definitely worth getting to know, she's terrific. Please go back and check out our interview from about a year ago. Nicole had come on, and we really dive into her background and how she got started in the entertainment business. So definitely check that interview out as well. Thank you guys for tuning in with us. We'd love to have your support. If you're new to us, our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. Please subscribe. Really helps us out. Our website is meistercon.com. You can find about 930 episodes right now, audio and video versions. So please check those out. If we're doing anything in studio, if we're going on location, covering a convention, anything we have going on, be on the website, meistercon.com. So please check us out there. Thank you guys so much. Till next time. Bye, everybody.